In this week's news bulletin, church leaders say poker machines should be illegal. Christian NGOs help after typhoon batters Philippines. And could chocolate make you smarter?
This is InFocus Christian News and Current Affairs.
Hello, it's fantastic you could join us for InFocus this week. I'm Ken Kingston.
And I'm Sibel Kute. On today's programme, we'll see how ancient bricks relate to the biblical record. Trafford Fisher will be telling us about the importance of physical touch to a relationship, and you'll be exploring the situation in Syria and Iraq, Kent.
Yeah, that's right, Sibel. Beryl Hartman will be in a bit later. She's just recently returned from visiting Lebanon's refugee camps. It's part of her work with ADRA. I'm looking forward to hearing her first-hand accounts of what's happening over there. But first, of course, it's the news. So it's over to you, Sibel.
Thanks, Kent. Christian leaders have joined an alliance that aims to have poker machines declared illegal in Australia. According to the New Daily, Reverend Tim Costello, who chairs the Australian Church's Gambling Task Force, is working together with Melbourne-based law firm Maurice Blackburn to bring the case to either a courtroom or Parliament. The alliance points to research that suggests poker machines are deliberately designed to produce addiction in gamblers and cause untold social harm. Another supporter is independent federal Senator Nick Xenophon, who entered politics in South Australia in 1997 under a no pokies ticket. Senator Xenophon is calling for a plebiscite on poker machines to be held at the same time as the vote on same-sex marriage. Australia's Catholic bishops have condemned the treatment of women in Australia's immigration detention centres, which they describe as part of an unjust and immoral system. The public statement comes after the alleged rape and pregnancy of Somali refugee Abiyan triggered a round of political claims and counterclaims that have again put Australia's offshore detention regime under scrutiny. The bishops say Catholic welfare services stand ready to offer trauma counselling to Abiyan and practical support to her and her baby, as well as others in her situation. Church leaders have repeatedly called for quicker refugee processing, the end of mandatory detention, and the closure of offshore processing centres. Philippines authorities say 500,000 people have been displaced by Typhoon Kopu, which hit Luzon, the nation's most populous island, last week. According to Adventist Review, 54 people were killed as the Category 5 storm pummeled the region. The Adventist Development and Relief Agency, or ADRA, has its Southeast Asian headquarters in Luzon and was able to be one of the first NGOs to respond to the disaster. ADRA has been distributing emergency shelter kits to families hit hardest by the typhoon and says that the greatest need going forward will be to rebuild damaged and destroyed homes. After a high-profile 5-year legal battle, 6 leaders of Singapore's City Harvest megachurch have been convicted of fraud to the value of $50 million. According to the ABC, the court found the leaders had diverted donations given to the church's building fund and spent the money establishing the pop star singing career of the founding pastor's wife. Since 2012, the church has operated under a new leadership structure and has taken steps to improve its financial accountability. Founding pastor Kong Hee, who was one of those convicted, has not admitted wrongdoing, but according to the Straits Times, has apologised to the congregation for the pain and turmoil they have endured. A series of 7 arson attacks on African American churches around the city of St. Louis, Missouri, has had police and churchgoers looking for answers. Back in June, a number of predominantly black churches in various southern states were burned, not long after the mass shooting at a South Carolina Bible study. This time, according to Press TV, the attacks have all consisted of small fires lit at the front doors of church buildings around St. Louis, a city that has seen racial tensions explode into protests and disorder in its northern suburb of Ferguson. Both local authorities and church leaders, however, say there's no direct evidence that the church burnings are race-related. In an historic first, Fiji is preparing to inaugurate a Seventh-day Adventist as its president. Major General George Conrote has most recently been serving as a government minister, but has resigned his position in order to take up the presidency, a mostly ceremonial role similar to that of Governor-General in other Commonwealth countries. President-elect Conrote's appointment is controversial in some quarters. Not only is he the first Adventist in the position of president, but he's also the first non-chief and the first from the Rotuman ethnic minority group. His inauguration has been set for the 5th of November. The 2015 Religious Freedom World Report makes for sobering reading, with clear evidence emerging that all is not well, particularly for religious minorities. The survey of more than 220 countries identified trends of increasing government restrictions on religious freedom, as well as rapidly growing threats from non-state actors, including extremist and terror groups. The biannual report is produced by the Seventh-day Adventist Church's Public Affairs and Religious Liberty Department. It takes special note of the situation of Adventists, who are a religious minority in each of the 216 countries where the Church is established. The Adventist practice of Sabbath observance is a particular source of difficulty with schools and employers, even more so in countries where religious fundamentalists are influential. Religious leaders in Myanmar have joined together to call for religious freedom to be respected for the sake of the nation's children. According to UN News, the joint statement by Buddhist, Christian, Hindu and Muslim leaders says that children can flourish best in an environment where there is tolerance and respect for religious diversity. The statement comes during an election campaign featuring Buddhist nationalist slogans, and after changes to the law that severely limit the rights of ethnic and religious minorities. Good news for chocolate lovers, with new evidence emerging that dark chocolate, in particular, may make you smarter. The preliminary research from Adventist-owned Loma Linda University suggests that the cacao in dark chocolate affects regions of the brain associated with learning and memory. The result seems to be an improvement in memory, an increase in intelligence, and even a boost in mood. The researchers are keen to point out, however, that their findings are preliminary and apply only to dark chocolate, not to milk chocolate or white chocolate. And that's the news for this week. How do you feel about dark chocolate, Kent?
Oh, how do I feel? I feel like I'm in love. Sibel, dark chocolate and I have a love that is very special and will never die.
Yes, I'm a bit of an enthusiast myself, but there's nothing wrong with just the cacao also. It's got less sugar and still healthy.
True. But it's really the cacao butter that helps achieve the right texture. I think that's an unbeatable combination.
Okay then. Well, I'll leave you to salivate about that. We'll take a short break now. History in Focus is coming up in just a moment.
Every week, It Is Written is available to millions of free-to-air viewers throughout Australia, New Zealand, New Guinea and the Pacific. It Is Written's Gary Kent regularly takes viewers to the far corners of the globe to report on new evidence and discoveries that confirm the Bible and Christian beliefs. It Is Written also provides medical care to remote Pacific Island communities. Join Gary Kent each week for It Is Written. See television guides and the It Is Written website for broadcast times. It Is Written with Gary Kent. It really is television that changes lives.
The media targets our goals with destructive messages. But is there an alternative? Yes, it's Gigi. Gigi is a great new magazine for teenage girls that uplifts good Christian values. Finally, a way to pass on our values in a way the teenage girls in our life will love. So give a subscription to a teenage girl you love today. Visit gigimagazine.com.au. That's gigimagazine.com.au.
Hi, welcome to History in Focus. I'm Adam Kavanagh and today we're with Gary Webster talking about bricks. But Gary, they're not just any bricks. I was going to say they're not just any old bricks.
They certainly
They're
are.
extremely old bricks.
Yeah. These date back to about 2,600 years old.
These actual bricks. So normally you bring in replicas of things. We've seen, you know, miniatures of a whole bunch of different stones from around the world.
This is the real McCoy.
This is a real 2,500-year-old brick.
Yeah. And what's more important is some of this writing here, you'll notice. These are bricks from Nebuchadnezzar's building period in Babylon.
So actual bricks from Babylon itself,
Absolutely,
ancient Babylon.
yeah. You may recall in the 4th chapter of Daniel, Nebuchadnezzar boasts on one occasion. He says, "Is not this great Babylon that I have built?" Mighty city it was, but he really, you know,
He was quite proud of it.
Yeah, he had
and
an ego problem.
bricks that can stand the test of 2,500 years, I think I'd be pretty proud of as well myself.
But the fact that, you know, we know these are Nebuchadnezzar's bricks, and there's many of them in museums today, whole ones in actual fact as well. It says that what the Bible says is actually quite true, because is not this Babylon that I built, the Neo-Babylonian city? And when you go to Germany today, to Berlin, you see these Ishtar gates. You've probably heard of
Very
them.
impressive looking gates.
They are. Well, just off to the edge of them, you'll notice this huge inscription here. And when you read this, it actually says, listen, Nebuchadnezzar laid the foundation of these massive gates. So again, hey, he did do what he said. The Bible says he did, yeah.
Yeah, and Nebuchadnezzar, I guess we know as the wicked king, a lot of us.
Yeah, well, you read what the Bible says and the way sometimes they acted in those times, yeah. But what is amazing is this guy came to realise that God was a God who cared about him.
Yeah, and so we see, you know, he took the Israelites captive, didn't he?
And destroyed their temple.
And destroyed their, so he wasn't a nice guy.
Well, not as far as the Jews were concerned.
Yeah.
But that's amazing in itself, isn't it? Here he destroys the very temple of God, and God goes after him. He wants to help this man to find the best in life.
Yeah, and really by the end of his days, he came around, didn't he?
He did. Well, it says in that chapter, he says, you know, he lived like an animal.
Yeah.
And by the way, we have a tablet that actually indicates that very story in Daniel chapter 4. And anyway, that's another story. But he looked up and he said, basically, God help me. And God, in his kindness, this pagan king became a believer in the God of heaven.
Praise the Lord that he's as long-suffering with Nebuchadnezzar. Let's hope that, we might get the same patience in return. Thanks for that, Gary. Stay tuned for more Record in Focus after the break.
Planning your future can be a daunting task. What you want to do, who you want to be, and the road ahead can often be unpredictable. No one really knows what the future holds. Avondale. It's education designed for life.
Back in time to ancient civilizations through this bi-monthly magazine, Archaeological Diggings. Don't miss an issue. Subscribe online or ask for Archaeological Diggings at your local newsagent.
Discover some of these artists from Salter Music. Anna Weatherup.
Oh, people get ready for the train to Jordan.
Castles in Air.
Like watchmen wait for the morning light.
Eric and Monique.
You alone are my strength, my refuge.
Sapphire.
His love reached the bottom of the ocean.
No matter what shade of musical taste you have, you might just find something that sings to you. It's all waiting to be discovered at saltermusic.com. Fresh and exciting original Christian music from Salter Music.
Welcome to Family in Focus. We are going to get all touchy-feely today. Trafford, I just love seeing old couples walking down the street holding hands.
Yeah.
It just warms my heart.
Sure.
Is it important?
It is.
Yeah?
It is. Maybe that's why you saw them as an old couple.
That's right.
Yeah, they know what to do. When we're going together, we touch lots. When we first fall in love, there's a lot of touch, and we hug, and we love that touch. We're excited. The tricky thing is, and sad thing is for a lot of couples, is when they get married after a while, that lessens. Right?
Okay.
That sort of just drops away. maybe not intentionally, but just, oh, they're busy, they're darting around, and the kids come along, you know. And one of the secrets of marriage, the old couple's onto it. You've got to keep up that non-sexual touch.
Okay.
So often we'll touch. Sexual touch is about touch where we've got the goal in mind of having sex. So I'll give a hug, and then we think, yeah, this is going to lead on to something, you know. But smart couples say, no. They're aware that non-sexual touch, which is touch for touch's sake, it builds intimacy and closeness. It recalls those fun days. It's building intimacy in a much broader level than just physical intimacy.
Okay, but why does it die off? Why do some couples just stop touching each other non-sexually?
I think again because they lose they can't just forget how important it is.
Okay.
Life just they forget.
And how do you build a relationship through non-sexual touch in a marriage?
It's about holding hands as you walk down the road. Right? If for those who go to church, just sit nice and close and touch in church and be seen to be touched. You know, it's about when you're sitting watching telly, don't sit in two separate lounges, sit in the same lounge and reach out and touch a leg.
Okay.
It's even looking eye to eye. The research shows that even looking eye to eye is kind of a form of touch, and maybe one of the most important ones where we're looking and we're conveying love through the touch. Right? So it mustn't be touch where it's forceful. It's not any kind of, you know, bullying or non-play. It's got to be gentle, it's got to be fun and safe. Yeah. In the sense that if the person's a bit fearful, we're starting to lose. You know, it's losing what it's all about. Yeah. So it's about that warm, affectionate touch and just staying in touch through that way, like we did when we were going together. We've got to get the romance back. Yeah. Hug lots. Yeah. Okay. When you come home, kiss, hold for 10 seconds, you know, all that, keep that stuff going.
Do a proper send-off, a good goodbye kiss. Yeah.
Yeah, don't lose that stuff. It's vital.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Trafford.
Good on you.
Thanks for watching and we'll see you soon.
Signs of the Times, a magazine for a world on the brink. And this month in Signs, what Bible prophecies reveal, and it's more than telling the future, a Christian's responsibility to protect the environment. Do we possess souls that live on after we die? And protect your emotional well-being with our mental health special. All in this month's Signs of the Times. Subscribe to Signs today and change your life.
Travel back in time to ancient civilizations through this bi-monthly magazine, Archaeological Diggings. In this issue, we find out who were those lesser-known female pharaohs. Also, we follow an expert through London's antiquities shops on the hunt for contraband artefacts and turn-up relics, the product of ISIS looters. And we look at the origins of the Silk Road and visit Palmyra, its western terminus. Don't miss an issue. Subscribe online or ask for Archaeological Diggings at your local newsagent.
Hello, welcome back. Well, they say it's now the largest displacement of people, not just since the Second World War, but including the Second World War, so that's of all time. 1/4 of the population of Lebanon is now refugees. Half of Syria is now displaced. It's huge. And Beryl Hartman from ADRA, you've just been there just a couple of weeks back in Lebanon, is that right?
Yeah, we went, me and Josh, our communication coordinator, we went over to Lebanon to visit our Syrian education project there for the refugees, just to see the progress and how it was going. And it was interesting to go back there after a couple of years and see that not much has actually changed in the situation. Wow. With the Syrian crisis.
Okay, so can you paint us a picture of like what it's like to be there, to be, you know, in that culture, in that setting, in the refugee camps?
It's quite full on. When we went, it was the end of August, so it was dry and dusty. The end of the summer, so you can just imagine what they went through the last few months of intense heat during the day. Not much food and water because the UN have cut their food vouchers per family as well. So the situation is not very good. It's looking like the crisis isn't going to end very soon. So the camps are just filling up. More people are crossing the border. I think they say every second Syrian is now displaced, either outside of the country or inside of the country.
Wow. Because you sort of get this picture looking at the media that, oh, well, obviously people are all going to Germany and it's all being sorted out, but it's actually getting worse. And you're saying they're running out of food. I've heard the World Food Programme is actually saying we don't have enough money to feed people.
Yeah, exactly. So the refugees are really doing it tough, and only the ones that can get money are the ones that are actually being able to flee beyond Lebanon and even Turkey. You know, each refugee, they need to raise $5,000 to be able to leave the region, so to leave Lebanon or Syria. So just think of all those refugees that have escaped to Europe and how much they've had to pay someone to be able to escape.
Wow, to get out of that sort of limbo of a refugee camp where water and food's running out. Boy, that's terrible.
Yeah.
So what is ADRA actually doing in Lebanon there to help those refugees?
ADRA is working throughout the region, but in Lebanon we've set up a refugee school because we found that a lot of the children and the families, the one thing that they really wanted was education for their children.
Sure.
It was something that they got in Syria and that they really valued a lot. We started an education program for 120 kids. Okay. Unfortunately, we can't accept more kids, and the school actually has a waiting list.
Wow.
So there's classes in the morning and in the afternoon.
So 2 shifts to fit in those kids.
60 kids each shift, because there's only 3 classrooms, so 20 kids per classroom. And they learn in Arabic as well as some English. And we actually also employ Syrian refugees as the teachers because they understand the children, where they've come from. And they can also relate to the kids, which is really important because they've just been through a lot of trauma, obviously. Change of scenery, completely new country and surroundings. So it's a big thing for these kids to be able to go to school and take their minds off this terrible crisis that's around them.
Boy, I mean, I know you were rushing around, doing, program assessments and reviews and things like that. But did you get a chance to actually, meet some of these like families one-on-one who've, come out of Syria?
Yeah, we spent about a day visiting them in their homes, which is really eye-opening because they've come across with nothing. They've literally come with the clothes on their back and maybe a bag of extra clothes. So we visited them in their homes, which most of the time was no bigger, most likely, than your bathroom at home.
Well, yeah. When you say homes, are you talking about what, in an apartment somewhere or a tent, or
yeah,
what?
No, an apartment usually. These are the urban refugees out in the outskirts of Beirut.
Okay.
So yeah, most of them are living in a little apartment. I wouldn't even call it an apartment. I'd say it's probably a storeroom.
Wow.
That size is basically what they're living in, and that usually has a family of 5 people living in it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Boy.
So the kids are often having to play outside, which the parents are often worried about because they usually live in poor regions of the city areas.
So there could be like crime or... Yeah.
There's actually a lot of crime. In a few of the places that we visited, they were saying that once it's nighttime, a lot of terrible activity goes on at night. So they have to bring their kids in and try and keep them confined. Can't go out to play. They just need to stay inside once the darkness comes in.
Wow, far out. So in out there in Iraq or Kurdistan or whatever it is, this week, did you have a chance to chat to any of the people there?
Yeah, we've heard a few stories that have come out of Iraq, particularly with the people that we're working with in these IDP camps. For example, one lady, Amira, she came from southern Iraq as ISIS had begun to take over her town. So, of course, she tried to flee with her family, her husband and her 2 sons. But they realised it was going to be too expensive because they needed to hire a truck and attempt to hide under whatever the truck was carrying.
Okay.
Her husband decided to stay and just let her, Amira, and her 2 sons flee. So they lay in this truck for however many hours, travelling north to escape their town, which had just been taken over by ISIS. So this is an example of some of the atrocities that the children have seen and that we're trying to help them work through.
So Dad, in that situation, is still back in the hometown?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and
That's
essentially
tough.
they might not have heard from him, so they don't know what's happened to him.
Boy. Now, as you said, I think you mentioned before, ADRA is working throughout that sort of whole conflict region, even in Kurdistan, which actually isn't even a country yet, really. But ADRA's also got another school there, is that right?
Yeah, so ADRA is working in northern Iraq, so in the Kurdistan region, with internally displaced people. While lots of people are fleeing Syria, in Iraq most of the people are moving internally, not so much crossing borders, though some are. So there's
there are refugee camps between the border between Iraq and Turkey. There's just hundreds of refugee camps all along there, aren't there?
Yeah, ADRA's got a couple of camps up there that they're working in. One of them is for internally displaced children. We're working with educational activities as well as recreational activities, because through the recreational activities, that's how we can address psychosocial support, you know, to help these kids through this trauma that they've been through. So there's a lot of singing and dancing and sport, as well as colouring in and artwork as well, just so that they can express themselves and be able to deal with these things that they might have seen as well as experience.
Wow. So are the workers there sort of trained to deal with some of that trauma and to like listen to kids if they do need to open up?
Yeah, definitely. The teachers are also, I think, from the Kurdistan region, so they understand these people as well and the experiences that they've been through.
Wow. Okay. Is ADRA actually working like close to the conflict zone itself, like in Syria or Iraq?
ADRA is working inside Syria. However, for security reasons, we can't really discuss whereabouts or what exactly they're doing, but ADRA does have a presence throughout the region.
Wow, okay. Hey, thanks so much, Beryl. I really appreciate you coming in to tell us about that.
No worries.
And if you'd like to check out a bit more about what ADRA is doing, not only in the Middle East but around the world, you can check their website, which is adra.org.au. We'll see you after the break.
Planning your future can be a daunting task. What you want to do, who you want to be, and the road ahead can often be unpredictable. No one really knows what the future holds. That's just part of what makes it all so amazing. And that's why a great education matters. Because it doesn't just help you get a great job, it helps you prepare for what life can throw at you and live a great life. Avondale, it's education designed for life.
Thousands of years ago, a series of ancient prophecies were disguised within a system of mysterious symbols. For centuries, these remarkable predictions have been sealed to the world until now. Check out our new Secrets of Prophecy online course today in 24 beautifully illustrated free studies at www.itiswrittenoceania.tv or call 1300 300 389 for your free copy today.
Hello, welcome back. Thanks so much for your company. If there's anything you saw on Record in Focus this week that piqued your interest, please don't hesitate to drop us a line. We always love to hear your feedback.
Yes, you can contact us via email, Facebook or Twitter. The details are right there on your screen. And of course, if you missed one of today's segments, all the videos are available to watch at our website, record.net.au.
All the best, and we'll see you next time on Record in Focus.
God bless.